Hey everyone, welcome to episode 4 of the new Slang podcast. I'm Thomas Mooney, and this week's episode is brought to you by the Blue Light Live. They are the home of Americana, country, folk, rock, and all things Texas music here in Lubbock. We often talk about all the music that originates here in Lubbock, starting out at the Blue Light, as far as people playing Monday songwriter night and going on to throw together Tuesday gigs and eventually working their way down to the end of the week. You've heard all these songwriters like William Clark Green and Charlie Shafter, Josh Abbott, Brandon Adams, Red Shahan. You know that story already. What's probably glossed over, though, is that the Blue Light also happens to be the home away from home for many other bands who, by now, they are widely recognized, but when they were first getting those gigs outside their home city, a lot of them happen to be at the Blue Light. Just like the three that are playing Blue Light this weekend. Thursday, it's Lawless Americans. If you aren't aware of who that is, it's a side project offshoot from the guys from Dolly Shine. It's Ben Hussey and Jared Flushy and Johnny Goodson, which Ben Hussey, we recorded a episode of the podcast a few weeks back, and his episode will be coming out, I guess just not next week, but the week after. Friday night is going to be the Dirty River Boys, which they do have pre-sale tickets available for that. I'll get a little bit more information for you in a second. And then Saturday, it's one of our good buddies, Eric Willis. He's really just one of the new voices of Texas country soul kind of stuff. So you'll be wanting to make sure to go out to at least one of those nights of music. So I mentioned pre-sale tickets for Dirty River Boys earlier. To purchase those, you'll want to head over to the Blue Light's Facebook or their official website at thebluelightlive.com. You can find a link for those tickets at either of those two places. There are a few other pre-sale shows of interest listed over there right now. Friday, April 15th, we've talked about it probably every week now. It's William Clark Green's Street Show Party featuring Will, American Aquarium, Red Shahan, and Flatline Cavalry. Tuesday, May 31st, that's going to be James McCartney. Yes, like Paul McCartney's son. He's a songwriter, and he's going to be playing at the Blue Light on Tuesday, May 31st. And then on Thursday, June 9th, it's going to be Ben Nichols of Lucero and Oliver Peck. So go over to thebluelightlive.com or their Facebook page and find a link to buy those tickets. Okay, so this week we have singer-songwriter Drew Kennedy on. Drew, he's one of my favorite songwriters, artists, and just overall performers playing music right now. He's just incredibly talented. And if you spend more than 5 minutes with him in any kind of conversation, you learn that he's one of the most thoughtful minds and great conversationalists in Texas and in Americana music. The man just has a gift for communication. The day that we recorded this was Sunday. He'd be opening for the Trishas at the Cactus Theater later that evening. And after we recorded this podcast, he pulled out his phone and showed me the video that he was going to be using for his Kickstarter for his upcoming album at home in the Big Lonesome. In the video, Kennedy, he's listing all these numbers that he's gone through since his last record. And he said all these numbers were accurate except for one of them. I'll let you guess which one of those numbers was just a guesstimate more so than a factual piece of information. Anyways, those numbers, those miles driven, shows played, songs written, they're all important to Drew. Not because he's bragging about, I've played all of these shows and you haven't or anything like that, but because that's what it's taken him to come to the point of going, all right, it's time to record a new record. And I find it so incredibly interesting to see that he could not necessarily remember all those numbers, but that at some point during that time he thought it would be a great idea to keep track of all of them. As of now, he's already met his goal of for his Kickstarter, but there are still 10 days left. That if you haven't backed the project, you can. It's essentially the easiest way to pre-order the album, and you'll be getting it before it officially releases. Of course, there's other things you can get as well, as far as a show at your house, and vinyl and ball caps and all kinds of stuff like that. I'll include a link to the At Home in the Big Lonesome Kickstarter page when I post this, so it's easier for you to find. One more note: New Slang now does have T-shirts that we've officially gotten in. They're really cool, or at least I think they are. They may not be, but anyways, you can find a photo of them online, and if you want to order 1 or 20 or something like that, just get a hold of us through one of the avenues of social media. Probably the easiest is going to be on Twitter at newslang_LBK. So anyways, on to the interview with Drew Kennedy, where we talk about all these cool things about music and baseball and stuff.
Freshman year of college, they gave me an email address. This was 1998. And like, here's your email address. You could write down a password. And I was like, who's going to use this? I'm not going to use this. This is, I don't even know what this is. Well, guess what? It's not a fad. It's sticking around. It's going to stick around. And so when you think about that idea that the art that you make now doesn't have to be transferred into a different format to be archived, there's some pressure that goes into that. Like, this isn't a joke. You're not, this will be my 5th studio record, my 8th record overall. And at this point, you better come with something to say, because you can't be a 36-year-old troubadour songwriter putting out a bunch of bullshit without any substance. At this point, you've been around long enough. People are going to want to know what you've made of the world around you. So, it's not, I'm not cranking out feel-good hits of the summer. That's not my job. My job I observe the world around me and do my best to explain it in a way that makes sense to me, and hopefully a way that makes sense to people that are listening. Mm-hmm. That's what I do. I don't need to explain why going to spring break is a good time, because it's just a good time. I'd rather talk about the guy who cleans the public bathrooms by the beach in South Padre. I'd rather sing his song rather than sing the song about all the college kids that are getting completely hammered and trashing everything around them. Mm-hmm. So there's. I just want to make sure that every time I make a record, especially now, nothing's mailed in. I've considered every line. I've considered every topic. I've considered every way to approach all of those things, to where when you hear the final product, I want it to be me at 36 saying mm-hmm. these things.
Well, so much about making records, I think, should be about where you are, how old you are, in how many albums you've had. Like this album should be different than the record you made at 30. And I think it needs to be, the songs need to be hopefully just as mature as you are at 36, as just an individual, as your songwriter at 36.
Yeah, you would hope there's a change.
Because so many people, they find that thing that they do, and then they stick to writing those songs. They stick to the spring break songs.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's. I just don't believe that writers have one topic that's in their wheelhouse. I think you have a topic that's in your wheelhouse that year, mm-hmm. and as you age, there are other things. Like, we all evolve as people, and there's no reason why the art shouldn't evolve too. And I understand that commerce gets in the way, and the bigger you get, the bigger tours, the more people are relying on your success for their income, and there's pressure to repeat tremendous success that you've had, because people, it's not just not necessarily just even for your ego, but it's because people's livelihoods are now depending on you. You have become an industry, and you're providing jobs for people. I understand why more established artists will stick with what has worked in the past because they have that. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, it's just me. I don't have to stick to anything, and other than what I feel like is what I want to say. And so there's a lot of freedom in that. And so, sure, I would have been happy to record the Spring Break record when I was 21. But at 36, it's not that. Mm-hmm. And I just, I've always loved country music so much because historically it's an adult format. It was talking about real adult issues. And I turn on country radio now sometimes, and I don't know who they're talking to, but they're not talking to me. And I wish they were because, I'm in my mid-30s, and you're talking kids and mortgage and stress and pressure about making sure you provide for others. I would really love to hear, a bunch of great songs totally hit home with what my life is when I turn on the radio. But instead, people like you have to turn me on to some new songwriter that I've never heard of before that does that. Yeah. It's become a niche thing to be honest about where you are in your life. And I think it's probably, everything's cyclical and everything changes, and I think it's shifting back towards a little more reality in the songs, but for my money, it can't happen soon enough,
Yeah. My dad was always like, you don't need to buy CDs, you can just listen to the radio. And I don't think my brother's like 14 years younger than me. I don't think he's telling my brother that same thing anymore.
Not anymore. There was a time before the internet turned the music business into the Wild West. If you signed a record deal, you made it through so many levels of gatekeepers to where you really, your music has gotten enough of a stamp of approval all the way down the line that by the time it gets to radio, that there's going to be quality there. Yeah. Now, and there's tastes and everything, but I just mean the acts that those huge labels were putting out at the time were all pretty much at the top of their game. And now it's become so wide open that you really have to dig to find stuff that speaks to you. There's no format. Like if Aerosmith came out with Dream On as like that band then when they released that song, like where would they go? What format would break Aerosmith? Yeah. They'd have to break themselves with being a live band. And it's a huge band that had number one hits over like 3 or 4 decades. And so it's just there's less people to point you to what is going to speak to you, and it's more on you as a listener to say, like, all right, music is really important to me, and I really want to know that other people are feeling what I'm feeling right now. I can't be the only one, so I got to go find it. And that is both exciting and a little bit of a letdown that we've lost that. Yeah. Well, just the whole internet thing where literally right now we can both find whatever song, most likely on our phones, just right now. Yeah. But it's it's a sea that is just limitless. Yeah. Where you have to sift and find things. It can be daunting to even. Yeah, it's funny. It's so convenient to get what you want to hear, but how do you find what you want to hear? Yeah. That's so the accessibility to what you want has become easier than ever. We have an entire culture's worth of music library in our pockets with our phone. But the thing that it's complicated is discoverability. Mm-hmm. You can discover anything, but there's nobody to say, like, this isn't good enough to be sold on iTunes. This isn't good enough for commercial release yet. You guys need to keep working. That doesn't exist anymore. Yeah. So you have to do your homework, and people don't like homework. Yeah. Well, that's too. I think, like, there's only... I don't expect people to be like me as far as, just constantly listening to music and always just analyzing it. Even if I'm just, not doing, like, not quote unquote working. Right. I'm always just analyzing a song, thinking about where this person's coming from. I don't expect everyone to be like that. Yeah. So,
yeah, like sometimes I guess like people they end up just listening to the radio or just putting it on Pandora,
Sure.
whatever, just because they don't want to have to search for it, you know?
I think it's, it's easy to say that that's an inherent laziness in our culture, but I don't agree with that. I think you have to invest so much of yourself to listen to music. Mm-hmm. And you and I probably listen to music the same way, and we're probably not the normal case as far as a music consumer goes. But I invest so much of myself listening to new music, going into it with no expectations, like focusing so much on the lyrics and the turn of phrase or listening to the production. Like you really take all of it in, and it takes a couple listens to make a decision. And listening, a picture of someone listening to something makes it look like it's a very passive, easy thing to do. But it is difficult. Like it takes a lot of concentration and a lot of energy to come up with an opinion about something that you're hearing. Mm-hmm. And so to ask people to do that much work to find stuff that's going to turn them on it's music. People love to do it, but somebody could easily say, man, I really want to do that, but I got to make dinner for 3 kids, and I just don't have the time. Yeah. And maybe I'll listen when they go to bed, but I'm going to be pretty tired too. So it's, it's like the double-edged sword.
Yeah, I get like there's life gets in the way.
Yeah, like it does.
But it's also one of the reasons why I really don't necessarily like album reviews.
Yeah.
As far as, we're giving this 4 stars, we're giving this 4 to 5, whatever.
Sure.
Putting it on a 10-point scale. Because, all these album reviews, they come out the week that they're being released. And I just don't know if you've given enough time to have a informed opinion on some album.
Yeah, I
on new artists
could not agree with you more, and I've said as much in conversation with friends, and even to a couple of critics I know. I do not envy their job because they have deadlines and they have a paycheck. Like that's their job; they're getting paid to do this, and the new release comes across their desk, and it's going to come out in a month, and you have a certain amount of time to publish your review so that it's relevant. So people that want to know what this record is going to be like are going to find it. And so you listen to the record a couple of times and you write your review. As a performer, as a writer, I do not know the song that I've just written until I've played it 10 times on stage. And even then, we're just shaking hands. Like, it might be until, like, performance 30 or 50 where, like, we've hugged, or had an in-depth conversation. Like, it's just, even as the person creating it, it's still so new to you that I don't even know what I have on my hands until it's been around for a while. And as a critic, I mean, I wonder how those reviews would change if somebody said, like, all right, here's the record you're going to listen to this month. It's coming out in 2 months. So in 30 days, I want your review of this record, and I want you to listen to it every day. And really, like, because I wonder how many people would go back and change their reviews after 2 listens.
Yeah.
And so I do not envy that job at all. I mean, I think it takes all of the joy and beauty out of listening to music and boils it down to this must complete, must say something unique. When I read reviews on Pitchfork, I've spent 12 years of my life as a professional musician, as a songwriter, as someone that's produced records for myself and for other people. When I read those reviews, I would say 60% of the time, and I'm not exaggerating, 60% of the time, I have no idea what that person is even saying. The words are neat, and it sounds really cool, but when there's a recording that you can reference, and then you can line up what they're saying, I have no idea what they're saying. I just don't, I don't understand, I don't understand a lot of the references that they're making, the comparisons that they're making. It's like that. I just don't get it. It's like they don't want to share the music with you. I love people that are so passionate about something that they just want you to hear it. Like, oh my God, you like that? You got to hear this. You got to hear this. If you're a fan of this person, you have to hear this because you're going to love it. And the opposite version of that is, oh, so you're a fan of this band? What's your favorite record of theirs? And you say something that's like, oh, well, mine is this one. And you're like, well, I haven't heard that one before. It's like, well, it was their first record. They only released it on cassette. There's only 300 copies. And like, dude, if you really were a fan of that band and that's your favorite album, the proper response to, in that conversation is, oh my gosh, if you haven't heard this, I have it and I want to share it with you because if you love them like I love them, you're going to love this. Not that whole like, oh, well, if you don't understand this reference, then, I can't help you. Yeah. It's your job to help me. That's what you do. You're a critic. Help me. Help me figure out what I'm listening to.
Yeah. Well, the thing about critics sometimes, too, is they're just like any other person as far as when you fall in love with a band, sometimes you stay in that era of the band.
Sure.
Sure. And so they, for example, for me, like the Strokes or Interpol, their first albums, I love way more than the new stuff.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things, like, even though I know it's dumb to think this way, like, I want to stay with that version of the band, not whatever they're doing now.
Yeah.
But
they have to evolve,
Yeah.
They evolved to the point to where they made that record that you loved. And then, it's like, this is a terrible analogy, but I'm shooting from the hip. It's like that really sweet memory you have of that high school girlfriend. And you know what they're doing with their life and who they've become as an adult. And you know that the two of you would never have worked as a couple over the long term. But you still have that really sweet memory of them. And it doesn't make, who they turned into does not diminish the feelings that you felt when you were with them at that specific time in your life. And music is made by people, and people evolve, people change, people mature, people, follow, artists especially, follow different things that interest them, that ignite their artistic flame. And, it's really tough to be a completist. There's only a couple bands like that, like, I can listen to every Beatles record that they ever put out.
Yeah,
but they only existed for 7 years.
Say, like, that's also like a
just such a condensed.
Music,
that's right. But
like, it's hard to be more of a Rolling Stones fan.
It is. It is because they're still going on tour, and you're like, oh my God, my grandfather is trying to be a rock star. Look, this is weird. I get it. But the good thing is, you always have that record, and yes, you wish that band continued to, they evolved with you. Their music changed as you changed. Like we talked earlier before we were doing this about, guys that just do the spring break song and they never evolve past that. Eventually age is going to age you out of being able to have an audience, because a 40-year-old singing about spring break is just flat out creepy.
Yeah.
So eventually the kids that want to hear the spring break song is not going to want to hear it from you, old man. I want to hear it from somebody that looks like me. So, there's that thing, and you can say like, they just found what worked and stayed there. And I get it, but that's what they did. Versus like, well, I really loved what they did when I was 21, and they changed and did something else, and I changed and did something else, but we'll always have that record at 21.
Well, and that's, I think, why so many old rock stars, they end up making like a country record when they get older, just because, they... now, part of me always also thinks like, oh, well, they're just pandering towards an audience. They know that like country fans still buy records.
Yeah, they're still buying units.
So there's that aspect. But I think like also just because you can't, you can't be Led Zeppelin forever.
You can't.
You can't be.
You can't have
you can't
that.
be Guns N' Roses forever.
Look at how fast that burns out. They burn so hot. And then just like anything, it'll burn itself out just as fast.
Yeah.
But I always go back and forth on like he went to Nashville and made a country record thing. Like, on one hand, it can clearly be a money grab, but on the other hand, that's the country songwriters or songwriters in Nashville. That's the last spot for lyricists. Like, that's really the last. You have like bands like Weezer or whoever who always have their specific sound, and their lyrics are always there, and you can always tell who's writing it and where it's coming from. But if you listen to mainstream pop music from L.A. or New York, there's... I'm not saying the lyrics don't make sense, but the lyric is almost like the last part. Like, okay, well, let's throw this in there. As long as there's a hook, cool. But the rest of it, like, we're just filling syllables that go with the meter of this song. That's what we're doing. And I think a lot of those older artists who started by writing their own stuff and came up, there was still a craft behind, you know, like we were talking Aerosmith, Steven Tyler doing the country record. There's still a craft behind the writing of those songs, especially those first couple of Aerosmith records before they worked with a lot of other songwriters. The craft is still there, and you can't go anywhere else and get that craft like you can get it with songwriters in Nashville. So sometimes I wonder if it's a cash grab, or sometimes I wonder if it's just somebody really missing working with bards, working with poets.
Yeah. Like, I know Elvis Costello's done some country stuff, and I know I can't remember where I was. I was driving down to Fort Stockton with my grandma, and I had the radio on, and Elvis Costello was singing like a Hank Williams song, and she was like, "Elvis Costello?"
Yeah. You
like,
too? You too, Elvis? Yeah, and that's somebody that doesn't need to do that. But, you know, I think the cultural beginnings of a lot of those, especially earlier country music recordings, somebody like Elvis Costello has to have that introduced to him. He didn't grow up with that music being a part of his culture. And just because it wasn't a part of his culture to begin with doesn't make those songs any less powerful. And so when Elvis Costello hears "I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry," or, you know, or any of those Hank Williams songs, that's an impactful song, and anybody's going to feel it. He just didn't grow up with it. So I can totally see the attraction of, like, man, that's a powerful song. The Attractions doing a country record. I mean, I don't know. That's the fun thing about talking about all this stuff is you and I never have to have an answer. We could just talk about it. Just be like, I don't know. Everything ends up with, I don't know.
Yeah. You know who Chuck Klosterman is, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I was rereading this book. I can't remember which one it was. But he's talking about advanced theory. Mm-hmm. Have you heard about this?
I don't think so.
Or read this in one of his... Okay. Advanced theory is like... I guess it was a theory... This is like maybe 20 years old.
Sure.
Where like there's only, 1% or like half of 1% of people who in the art world make something truly genius.
Yeah.
And how, I guess his example was like Lou Reed was advanced.
Yeah.
99% of the population sometimes would not get what he was doing.
Right.
And it was just because it's so genius that it took time for them to grow on it or something, And this whole theory is very, very, very pretentious and all this kind of bullshit with it. But he was saying, that Neil Young was not, he's not considered advanced just because whenever he first started out, he didn't have any parameters to work in. He was always this, I'm doing whatever I care about, whatever I want. And so it has to do with like, I guess, being self-aware in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
What like your intentions of making an album are, and like I guess like I was talking to a buddy about this was, well, who are some advanced bands? Who are the advanced artists of right now?
Yeah,
and it's really hard to come up with a list as far as because first off, I don't even know if this is a real thing. Like, I mean, I know like it's a theory and all this kind of stuff, and it's but like there's. I guess like he was, Klosterman was talking about like the Killers being anti-advanced because everyone gets the Killers.
Yeah.
Or like everyone gets, what did you say? Like the Beastie Boys.
Yeah.
And not saying that they're making bad music or anything like that, but they're just not geniuses at making.
Sure. Well, the interesting thing about all those qualifiers is that, number one, a band or an artist can't sit down and say like, what are we going to do with this record? It's like, we're going to be genius.
Yeah.
This record's this is going to be my genius record. Because that's for everybody else to decide.
Yeah.
But the cool thing about discussing theories like that is there might be an advanced band to Chuck Klosterman.
Yeah.
But it's just to Chuck.
Yeah.
You know, he's the only one that gets to decide how advanced they are. Whereas I might hear a band and say, like, oh, man, well, I listen to this because I came up as a percussionist. And if you listen to the rhythms that are underlaid in this track, it is as complex as you could imagine. And that is advanced. And that could be a killer song. I don't know. You know, I'm, first of all, not a percussionist.
Yeah.
But what's great is everybody can put together their list of those advanced people.
Yeah.
And it's just, you know, it gets you a cup of coffee, maybe.
One of his examples also in the book is like Radiohead. If Radiohead makes a new album that's really, really great, but it's just all like in different drone sounds.
Yeah.
Well, that's just we'd expect Radiohead to do that.
Right.
But if they made like a blues album, that would be advanced because one, no one would see it coming. Most people probably wouldn't like it at first, and then it would be years later that people would go, you know, that blues record by Radiohead was really good.
That's insane.
Yeah,
like to even think about it. Is that like if we're talking Weezer? Is that like Pinkerton? Like that was their second record, and everybody hated it.
Yeah,
and now everyone's like, "This is pretty much the greatest thing I've ever done."
Well,
like, dude, I remember in high school you hated that.
Speaking of like album reviews, like Rolling Stone hated that record. You know?
Of course, but then in the same issue, Rolling Stone loved the first Britney Spears record. So you're just like, wait, if you gave Britney Spears 4 out of 5 stars, and you gave Sgt. Pepper's 4 out of 5 stars, are you saying that those are equally as important culturally? Or are you saying that those things completely line up the same way? Like it's really, like that's just, it goes totally back to the criticism thing. It's impossible.
Hey, we're not open right now.
You give in.
Okay. But as far as like examples of today, one of the ones I mentioned was like Waylon Jennings doing The Highwaymen.
Yeah.
Doing any albums with Willie Nelson.
Yeah.
That's I guess overt.
Yeah.
Meaning people think it's advanced, but it's really not.
Right.
But Waylon Jennings doing that EP with Old 97s.
Right.
Is advanced.
It's just that's more time than I care to consider what all these things are. And guys like Chuck, I mean, you know, he's an undeniably intelligent person, but God, all that time that you spend developing that theory, I'd just rather sit down and write a new
developing
song.
it.
Oh, but it's him explaining it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just too far. Like it's so much, you get so much joy out of music. Like we can argue about who's a better guitar player and stuff, but once you start getting into what's expected and what's not expected and how that plays on a level of genius as far as the spectrum goes, that just takes all the fun out of it.
Yeah.
It's like somebody arguing about what's a better $90 glass of wine. It's like, you know what?
Yeah.
They're both going to be pretty damn good.
I think like there's aspects of it that are interesting to think about, but like I think I probably would have loved this theory when I was like 21.
Right. Oh man,
22.
it would have changed your life.
But right now I'm just going,
Yeah, no,
you know.
no.
But I do think it is funny and weird whenever artists become characters of themselves.
Right.
You know, and I think there's an aspect of that with this theory. It's like I always wonder like if Bob Dylan knows who the real Bob Dylan is, you know, that kind of thing.
I know. I always wonder if it's like even a different level of that. If Bob Dylan knows who the Bob Dylan is that we all know. Like, you know what I mean? Because he's so smart, and then you see him doing a commercial where he talks to a computer, and that's cool. I mean, look, commercial's the new way to make money. I mean, I understand. But it's like, is this all tongue-in-cheek with Bob, or does he not know what we all think of him? Of course he knows what we think of him. Why? You know, like, or this is Bob Dylan doing a Victoria's Secret commercial. Is the joke on us, or is the joke on him? I can't figure it out.
Yeah. Well, the thing, like, what I'm always wondering is if Bob Dylan's in his house looking in the mirror and, like, just staring into his eyes and being like, seeing if he can see into his soul, you know, like that kind of thing.
I love that idea.
You know, just like,
what's in there, Bob?
Like,
you just wanted to be a cartoonist and look at you. Or, you know, something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's funny to think about all that stuff. Like my dad hates when artists at an award show will talk about politics or something, like just get up on stage and use it as a vehicle to say, this is what I think is right. Mm-hmm. He hates it. And I was finally like, Dad, that's what you want your artists to do. And he's like, why? I don't care what this guy, he didn't even graduate from high school. And I said, no, this is someone who has created great art their whole lives by following their gut instinct. I'm going to be this person. I'm going to do this. And it's worked. And we, as a human race, has received incredible amounts of art. It's been great, like great art that has changed our lives because these people trusted in themselves and followed their hunches and their gut, and they delivered on this thing, whether it was a great piece of acting, whether it was a great book, whether it was a great record, whatever. That's how these people became these great performers that enrich our lives. And of course they're going to get up on stage and say, like, well, shit, I got so rich and famous by following my gut. And this is what I think politically should be happening. So I'm just going to do what I always do and say it. If they didn't have that complete lack of awareness to think, like, well, maybe not everybody cares, they wouldn't have made great art in the first place because that's the quality that made them. So you just have to realize, like, I can love the art, but I don't have to love the artist, or at least the artist's politics. Like, you can take one without the other. It's like when they get up there and talk, it's like, go get a snack from the kitchen. It doesn't matter, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know where that came from.
Do you watch a whole lot of the award shows?
Sometimes, if I'm home.
Yeah.
But I don't go out of my way to do it. And this is talking about pretentious. Sometimes when I have friends that are up, like Lori McKenna at the Grammys,
yeah,
you know, or the ACM for Girl Crush. I love Lori. You know, she's one of my favorite humans on earth, and so I watch that.
Yeah,
because I have a rooting interest, which is insane. But I don't go out of my way, and I certainly don't engage in the immediate grading of all performances, or like, oh, this guy got snubbed, or what.
Yeah,
I mean, it's all. It's an advertisement, you know.
I love the actual. I do love the Twitter.
It's amazing. That's what I watch.
That's what I it's not necessarily that I care who's winning, and a lot of the stuff I'm like, I mean, I don't.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter to me.
Right.
Like, do I have an opinion on who should have won? Sure, but I'm not going to like get angry about it.
Right.
But I do love like the Twitter like live tweeting aspect.
It's amazing. It's amazing to watch. You know. And it's amazing too that we can. You used to have like Grammy watching parties, and to get that reaction, you'd have to have like 50 people in a room. Mm-hmm. Now we have the globe in our rooms, and we can just be like, oh, yeah, God, that guy's going to regret saying that tomorrow, or, you know.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting. But, you know, it's awards. You don't make art for awards. You don't make art for a pat on the back. You make it because you have to. Mm-hmm. And if you get snubbed and don't get invited, big deal.
Yeah.
It just happens. Go make another great record and don't worry about it.
Yeah. What I always love is there's always at least a handful of people who think this award show of this last year is the worst award show ever, and that every live performance was horrible, and any collaborations done was downright the worst thing to ever happen. And I'm like, well, you don't have to watch, you know? Like, I know, like...
Not a requirement.
Yeah, it's...
Yeah, I know, but it's always that.
But I think it's kind of funny. Like,
in my day, this is how great this was. Mm-hmm. Well, it's okay.
I thought, like, I guess it was the Grammys. I thought the Grammys was actually, as far as the live performances went.
What I caught of it, I thought it was fine. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I enjoyed it more than I've enjoyed performances in the past.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'd rather watch a baseball game.
I thought it was funny, too, like, just Kendrick Lamar made a whole lot of people uncomfortable with themselves. And it was...
that's all right. I like when that stuff happens.
Yeah. I thought it was really, really funny.
Yeah. Like when your immediate reaction sitting by yourself is to, like, draw yourself, like, in closer of a ball as he's talking, like, ooh, I don't know. He's saying that. I kind of like that.
Yeah. So, yeah, you're a baseball guy.
I am a baseball guy, yeah.
Yeah. So baseball's coming up.
It is. The Phillies are my team. They've been my team since birth, and they're having a really great spring training. Like, the Phillies are going to be awful this year. They're probably going to be the worst team in baseball. But they've won like 8 of their last 10 games in spring training, and they've looked pretty good. And so it's just enough for me to start thinking like, well, maybe they're going to surprise a lot of people. Like maybe they actually might. This might be a miracle. They might be pretty good. I know they're going to be awful, but like, damn, if that game doesn't hook you like that, like you can start off a season and lose, 15 of your first 20 games. But as soon as you win 3 games in a row after that, you're like, all right, maybe they turn it around. Like up until, maybe like they start mathematically eliminating people, there's still that thing in the back of your head. It's like, man, they're going to go on a run.
Yeah.
They're going to do it.
Now, are you okay, basketball is my sport.
Yeah.
And, that's 82 games.
Yeah.
And for the most part, I can catch, 75% of those games.
Sure.
How many baseball games will you watch at least parts of?
I will watch or listen to 95% of the games of a Phillies season.
Yeah.
The only time it gets in the way is when I have, because I travel so much. When I'm driving, I can just listen to the game on my phone. And then when I'm home, I have the package so I can watch the Phillies game. But the only time I can't is when, if I'm playing a Saturday night and the Phillies are on the West Coast and the game starts at like 9:30 Central Time, and so do I.
Yeah.
But for the most part, man, I get I listen to, I far prefer baseball on the radio than baseball on TV. I just really like the theater of the mind with a game. And but yeah, I'm pretty hardcore about baseball.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like basketball too, but
yeah.
I like the college game far more than the pro game, just because of the tournament,
Well, see, that's why I don't like the college game, because I think like the regular season doesn't mean anything. Well,
Sure.
Obviously, like no regular season does, but like watching the first 30 college basketball games doesn't mean anything. It's like not until now that things get real.
Yes and no, but you can say the same thing with the NBA game. How many teams get into the playoffs? Like it's yes and no. I don't look at the seasons in basketball. I don't necessarily focus on what the season is, but I don't think there's a better sporting event in America than the first 2 days of the NCAA tournament, when all sorts of crazy stuff is happening.
Yeah. When there's
for a minute,
channels.
a 16 team is beating a 1 team. Yeah, you got 4 channels. Like the 15 seed knocks somebody off, and there's always your buddy who's like, I called that. You're like, you did not call. You don't. Where's Pepperdine? You don't even know where Pepperdine is. It's in Washington. No, it's in California. Yeah. You don't even know. You didn't call it. Okay, and if you did, you were just. It's like my wife betting on the Kentucky Derby. I'm betting on that team because I like, or that guy because I like the color of his silks. It's like, well, listen, you're just betting for the pink guy. That's not an actual way to do that.
Yeah.
But it's fun. It's so much fun.
Yeah, those first 2 days.
Oh, it's amazing.
It is great because really, you don't have to. I mean, I know a lot of people have to go to work and everything, but you can slip in some time.
Totally do
it.
And even like CBS Sports a couple years ago, like released this thing, like you could stream the games, and there was a button like on the bottom right-hand corner of the screen where if your boss was walking by, you could click it and a spreadsheet would pop up. And it was like a static screen, but it was like a screenshot of a screen with a spreadsheet on it. So like even like gigantic corporations are trying to make it easier for you to be lazy at work and watch basketball. And I think there's nothing more American than that. It's just great.
Yeah. What's the last thing musically that you became obsessed with? That you heard this guy or gal with this band and you just were like, I have to check out everything.
Man, there's a guy who performs under the name Field Report, and his last record was called Marigolden, and it blew my mind. My friend Cody turned me on to it, and this guy's a total folk singer, and I've looked up YouTube videos of him, and he just performs like I do, just a guitar and singing, and the songs are really well crafted, but it's like they went into the studio with this record and said, and this is, I'm sure 100% wrong, but this is how I hear it, said like, all right, I've got all these ballads, and I don't want to change the tempo, but I don't want them to feel like ballads. And so there's all this stuff going on under the tracks of these songs that are just so interesting to me sonically. And his lyrics are fantastic. He's one of those lyricists. I'm a real big seeker of truth in lyrics. And this guy, I don't even understand half of the stuff he's saying, which is really out of my norms for me to like. But it's so beautiful. Mm-hmm. Like the lines are just so I was like, I don't know what that means, but it really sounds great.
Yeah.
So I really love that record. I listened to that record probably every day for about 3 months.
Yeah.
When I got it, and he's pretty unknown. He's a Milwaukee guy, I think, and I haven't really come across many other people that are hip to it. But I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of those things too. Is, you do get obsessed with certain artists, and so then your friends are like, "Hey, have you heard of blah blah?" Or have you still have not heard of?
Yeah.
Heard this record by? I've told you about this record 5 times.
Right.
And you still haven't listened.
What's your problem?
And it's like,
you're missing out, man. Yeah. And it's funny. The great thing about our scene is when somebody like that comes around, the word spreads quickly. Mm-hmm. Like there's nobody in our scene that really is in our scene that is going to say like, no, I've never heard of John Moreland. But with somebody like that who's not connected to the Americana folk country scene in the Southwest, there's still they're still out there. Mm-hmm. But you just all of a sudden in 1 week, everybody was like, "Have you ever heard of John Moreland?" Like, yeah. Like, is it great? It's like, yeah, it's great. Yeah. But it just happened. Like all of a sudden, it's undeniably great, and it's in our neck of the woods.
Yeah,
the Oklahoma guys are killing it.
Not to be, super hipster here, but have you heard any of Moreland's old stuff?
Yeah, of course. The more rock stuff,
yeah.
The heavier stuff. I've heard a little bit of it. Yeah.
To me, that was like Gaslight Anthem kind of.
I thought it was cool too.
Stuff.
I mean, my listening habits tend more towards what he's doing now. But yeah, I mean, the guy's a badass writer. Period.
Yeah.
I'm listening to some of his stuff, and I came to the realization I feel like he is on a mission to personally hurt my feelings, and I really love that. Like he listens to like, oh, this cannot be any more sad. And I like somebody that has that ability.
Yeah. But those Oklahoma guys right now.
Killing it.
Like
John Moreland, John Fulbright.
Have you heard the new Park and Real stuff?
I haven't heard the new Park and Real. That's the name I was just trying to think of. But when I heard Truck Stop, is it Truck Stop?
Truck Stop Gospel.
Truck Stop Gospel. When I first heard that, I was like, this is incredible. And somebody's like, yeah, that kid's like 18. I was like, oh, we should kill him. That's not even fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, those guys are all. And it's great, man. That's that attitude that I moved to Texas for 12 years ago. It's not. I don't find it in Texas anymore. They're all doing it. They're like, screw a tour bus. Like I could care less about that. I have to say this. This is burning me up, and I have to get it out. And the ability is, the talent level and the craftsmanship is undeniable. Mm-hmm. Whereas a lot of the feeling that I moved down here for now, it's like, it's turned into a mini Nashville. And I love Nashville. I'm not, I'm not disparaging Nashville. There was two different things. There was what Nashville did and what the Texas scene did. And I liked the rawness of what the Texas scene did. And now it's just trying to copy the polish of what's happening in Nashville. That's somebody that's recording a record in Nashville. Like, that's me saying that.
Yeah. Two things. I think, like, one, why those Oklahoma guys are doing great things is because, and I may be wrong with this, but they have a deeper connection to like Woody Guthrie and like folk singers.
Yeah, you might be right.
Not necessarily frontmen.
Yeah, I think I figured it out. Like, raise your kid hardcore, super strict Baptist.
Yeah.
Until they're 16, and then hand them a guitar, a Playboy, and a bottle of Jack Daniels, and say, "Okay, you're out. Go figure out the world now." Mm-hmm. That's like. There's so much of that dichotomy of strict religion versus freedom in human beings in those songs.
What they do is like legit Southern Gothic stuff.
For sure.
I mean,
but they paint it up because they're great melodically. It's great. When I think about a lot of that Southern Gothic stuff, it doesn't have the lifts that these songs do. But texturally and lyrically, you're absolutely right.
Mm-hmm. And also, I guess on the whole Texas versus Nashville thing, I think like that is such a it's such bullshit.
It's total.
But it sells records.
It sure does.
I mean,
there's there's definitely validity to the theory of pointing a finger at your competition and saying they're not good. I am.
Yeah.
People like when people choose sides and they'll follow somebody,
Yeah.
But nah, man, that whole thing is propagated by three different people: people that needed to sell a record, people that were spurned by the machine up there and came back with a chip on their shoulder, and people that have never been there and just hear everybody saying it. Because I think Nashville has the greatest songwriters on earth living in its city limits.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's, people are like, oh yeah, well, listen to the songs on the radio. Well, the songwriters aren't getting those songs recorded. They don't have what I have, which is I can make my own records and I tour, and I have that outlet. A lot of those guys, men and women, are songwriters, and they feed their family by getting songs recorded. The same person that writes the dumbest song that you possibly heard in the last year can sit down in a room with somebody else and write a completely brilliant, would stand up to anybody's scrutiny as far as lyrically intelligent music goes. That's what they do. So I've spent a lot of time writing up there recently, and I am in awe of the talent as far as writers go up there. So I will never say a bad thing about that town.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. I just think, like, if people thought about it, just for 5 minutes, they would realize that there's just as much bro country happening in Texas.
It's even worse. That's the thing. It's like we want to do what that feels like, but we can't even figure out how to make our dumb lyrics sound that good. That's what they're doing, and I just don't understand it. Like, when is it cool to posture yourself down as a thinker or as a person? Like, if that's not what you do, if you can't do lowest common denominator dumb, then God, don't do it. Nobody aspires to do that. Do what you do and do it well. Don't try to be this other thing. If you want to try and be Guy Clark, I'll give you a pass because we're all trying to be Guy Clark. If that's what you're going for, I support you. And, man, if you get there, I'm going to be your biggest fan. But when you shoot for something that's already such low-hanging fruit, it's like, man, you're never going to get that year of your life back as a person that's supporting this art that you've made, in quotation marks, art. Life's too short to do that. And if that attitude never gets me a tour bus or a merch guy, oh well, that's okay with me.
Yeah.
I drive my Prius and sell my merch, and totally happy doing it because I get to just try to make a record that I'm proud of. You know?
Yeah. Well, okay, so on this new record, what is the most what word is on this record that you're most proud of?
Word
Fitting in on a song.
That's a really good question. What word?
Or
One
phrase.
word that's, well, there's a couple of phrases on the record that I really like. Honestly, I always get this really interesting sense of joy when I sing this song called Jackson. And it's all about, like, relationships and airplanes from a younger person's perspective, but told by an older person looking back on that stuff. And it's just the second to last line of the song, like, time flies, but I still think of you. Every time I sing that, I'm like, yeah, you really turned that one into something good. You'd have to hear the whole song.
No, I've heard it before.
I always get a kick out of that. But, there's a song on the record that has the word serendipity in it. That's kind of fun one to fit in there.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's funny. I never really boil it down to that. I'm really proud of what the songs say as a whole. I guess we'll go serendipity.
Yeah.
There's a lot of syllables for one word that yank that into a song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think with a lot of songwriters, either they do, as far as words go, diction, they're either really, really great at keeping it real short and simple where everyone can understand, and it's like, oh, you sing the way people talk.
Yeah.
And you hear that.
Yeah.
Or it's like, they use, $5 words, $10 words to describe things that are normal, but in ways that maybe not everyone loves hearing it.
Yeah. I'll tell you, the first one is way harder to do. To be like Billy Joe Shaver is the poster
Yeah.
guy for that. Like to say so much with so little as far as the language goes, that's the hardest thing in the world to do. And he's a master at it. Mm-hmm. And everybody, myself included, that wants to try out a $5 word, if we could have figured out a way to say it with a 10-cent word, we would have done it. But it's just so hard. And it seems counterintuitive, but it's so hard to be plain spoken and poetic and powerful.
Yeah.
That's the hardest thing to do in songwriting.
Yeah. The one time I interviewed Billy Joe Shaver, the funniest thing I thought about the entire conversation was that so much of it was, well, oh shucks, I'm just writing songs.
Right.
But also the added on part, God put me on earth to write songs.
Right.
So it's like this balance of
shucks and divine intervention in all of our lives because of his presence.
Yeah.
Yeah. Funny how that works. That's like, Billy Joe, that's not a very shucks moment if God put you in front of me to sing that song on purpose, Yeah, I think it's, that's a charming thing to really, I mean, I think he's a genius.
He's advanced.
He is advanced. We can agree that he's advanced. For someone to be advanced and have the aw shucks thing, I think that's kind of sweet. Even though we can all see through it. But I take that back, Billy Joe. We don't all see through it.
I doubt he'll listen to this.
I don't know, just in case he does.
Yeah. I don't think he will, because during this interview that I had with him, he said he listened to just Spanish music.
That's
on
crazy.
The radio because he didn't like anything on the radio.
I totally believe that. I opened for him a couple of times when I was younger, and a couple of years, like maybe 6 or 7 years ago in San Angelo, I opened for him. And after the gig, he was like, "Oh man, you young guys are all good looking and talented. I should just shoot all y'all." And I was like, "Oh, shut up, Billy Joe. You're the legend." 5 years later, he shoots a guy in the face for telling him to shut up. I was like, "Oh my God, he said he was going to shoot me, and then I told him to shut up." Like, that could have been as close as I will ever be to sudden and permanent death. Like, that could have been it. Of course, death is permanent, but yeah.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's good to end on right there.
That's fine. I'm still here.
We're coming up on an hour.
All right.
I don't know if you want to keep on talking.
Dude, you know me. I'll talk to you for 5 hours, and that's probably the last thing you want to do.
Oh, I don't care.
Yeah, we'll call it. I really enjoyed doing this, man. I like talking with you, and I don't know how many people are recording a podcast in a daiquiri bar that is not open to the public right now. But I can say for certain, no daiquiris have been consumed in the recording of this podcast.
Yeah. Pretty good.
All right.